So this is not a video. Don't be worried. It's just a screenshot of the article. But this is from 2015. And Bob Jones III apologized for saying gays should be stoned, because, as one does. And, I got to read what he said here. So the article mentions that 3.5 decades. Someone say something? What? Oh, I thought I said something. 3.5 decades after calling for homosexuals to be stoned, former Bob Jones University president Bob Jones III has apologized. I take personal ownership of this inflammatory rhetoric, Jones said. This reckless statement was made in the heat of political controversy 35 years ago. The weekend apology came days after the conservative Christian school in South Carolina received a petition asking for an apology for a statement Jones made to the Associated Press in 1980 at the White House. And his quote was, "I'm sure this will be greatly misquoted, but I would," which is very funny, right?
I know y'all are going to get this wrong. I know it's going to sound like that.
It's so, and then the article proceeds to word for word quote what he said. It's like, bro, buddy, trust me, this would have been better if they had misquoted you. But I'm sure this will be greatly misquoted, but it would not be a bad idea to bring the swift justice today that was brought in Israel's day against murder, rape, and homosexuality. Because those three are equally abhorrent crimes. I guarantee it would solve the problem post haste if homosexuals were stoned, if murderers were immediately killed as the Bible commands. So that's what he said in 1980. And in 2015, he says, upon now reading those long forgotten words, they seem to me as words belonging to a total stranger, were my name not attached. I cannot erase them, but wish I could, because they do not represent the belief of my heart or the content of my preaching. So I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if go on, Kelly, say what?
I don't know if I believe that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I do. And so I am about to share with everyone here a video, and this video contains statements that Bob Jones has made about homosexuality over the years, going back several decades. And from what I can tell, this seems pretty consistent with what he's been saying for a very long time. So let's go and get started here.
On the sin of homosexuality. He might even preach sermons and sing songs, but they're homosexuals and they're adulterers, fornicators of every kind. Said it was dishonorable for a man to cheat on his wife, or a wife to cheat on her husband, or to be a homosexual, or to be some kind of a sexual deviant. And the gods of the pagans involved bestiality and prostitution and homosexuality and all.
I want to pause real quick. By the way, if you guys want to pause, let me know. Just speak up and I'll pause if you want to say something, because this is like a 5-minute video. So feel free to jump onto the shit. But I'm sure you guys have noticed over the years, I certainly have, how often these folks compare homosexuality to bestiality. It is one of their go-to examples. Like when the whole gay marriage debate was going on in the early 2000s, I can't tell you how many times people said, well, look, if we allow gays to get married, what? We're going to let people marry animals and next? Did you guys ever run across that?
It's always like one to the other, like the extreme comparison.
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely did hear. I thought that bestiality was going to be everywhere. I was like,
I mean, you're not wrong.
It's so funny. It's true.
I did. I do want to say something really quick before this just goes on, because the emotional reaction I'm having to hear this clip, this was like what I've heard preached a lot during my time at the Haven. So I don't want to let I'm not trying to let Bob Jones off the hook, but I feel like for me, by the time I got to Bob Jones, like this was a non-issue. They didn't they could get away with somebody just like, maybe doing something kind of wild every now and then, to drive it home. But I don't know. I just wanted to add that in there.
No, 100% correct. Like this was the rule, not the exception. Like he was not outside the bounds of what we had heard for decades at this point. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I think Caleb found the bestiality behavior. That was pretty funny. It's like we were sold a false bill of goods by all these folks. We thought that. It's just even as a kid, I never thought that made any sense. That we allow gay people to get married, and then like my penis is going to be in a goat the next day. Like, what are we talking about here? It's just it's a very odd comparison that I heard all the time. But let's hear old triple. All right, I'll stop saying it. But let's hear old triple six. Let's see what's going on.
Take it away, 666.
These things that were done in their worship, if you can believe that kind of perversion, homosexuality, all kind of perversion resulted. Inordinate affections, that's perversity, like lesbianism and homosexuality. God has already decreed that homosexuality is an abomination. Scripture says so. That's what it calls it. The survivor of all survivors, a homosexual guy who prides himself in running around naked on an island, being a national hero.
I have no idea what he's referencing there. I've been racking my brain ever since I heard it. It's like,
I don't know either.
What gay guy was running around an island that was a national hero? I have no clue. Like I could have done some more research into it, but I was like, I'm not that interested. But I didn't know who he was talking about there.
The abomination thing was always the word referenced also, and I remember being like, where, and having questions about what exactly the scripture that was referenced meant. It was always King James version, and what
And it was always the same passage. They never dove deeper than just what the verse said, and that was it.
Which verses are you guys referencing? Because the ones that I'm thinking of that I think it's Exodus or Numbers, where it talks about if a man lie with a man as if he will lie with a woman, it's an abomination. And then the one that I heard the most, that's Old Testament, but the one I heard from the New Testament a lot was in Romans, when Paul said that what is it? They gave themselves over to what's the term? You guys know it.
Carnal desires or something.
Reprobate. That's the word. Reprobate minds, and then it's like men lying with men and women lying with women. Those are the ones that I referenced. Do you guys remember any other ones they talked about?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh, Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the main thing. That and the Exodus passage.
The Sodom and Gomorrah one is also kind of fishy too, because it doesn't explicitly. Well, we'll get into it later, but like that, I always thought that one to be the weakest. But let's go.
I was appalled at their national convention this summer when they took great pains to parade a homosexual congressman and give him a speaking opportunity and made much ado over him. President Clinton declared June to be Gay Lesbian Month in America. I want to read you a paragraph of that proclamation. Don't have time to read the whole thing. Here's what the president signed his name to. This June, recognizing the joys and sorrows that the gay and lesbian movement has witnessed and the work that remains to be done, we observe Gay and Lesbian Pride Month and celebrate the progress we have made in creating a society more inclusive and accepting of gays and lesbians. I hope that in this new millennium, we will continue to break down the walls of fear and prejudice and work to build a bridge to understanding and tolerance until gays and lesbians are afforded the same rights and responsibilities as all Americans.
I don't know about you, but that's the worst thing I've ever heard. I can't believe that. I cannot believe it. I thought this was America. What I wanted to add about this is I'd actually kind of forgotten about this when how badly people took it when this shit happened. Because we were talking about Possum Grape, Arkansas, which is a real place for you guys wondering earlier before we did the show. And I remember how upset people were at not only the enshrinement of Pride Month, but even like private organizations creating their own Pride days. And I lost count of how many times I heard people say that we're boycotting Disney because they're having Pride Day at Disney, or we're boycotting the WNBA. And I remember a specific example. I know, right? Good luck surviving, Disney, without my dollars.
Yeah.
We were mentioning Arkansas, and I remember this is one of many examples. It wasn't the only time I heard it, but we went to a Bible camp in Arkansas. It's the only time I've ever been to Arkansas, and don't plan to go back anytime soon. But I remember we had a preacher up there. He said two things that I'll never forget. The first thing he said was that, the King James Bible is the only Bible we should be using. Even back then, I knew that was absurd. Yeah. But he said that he uses the NIV as toilet paper. I remember him saying that. And I remember asking Pastor Carney, I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. He goes, yeah, that's going a little far. I was like, oh, yeah, great. And then another thing he said was that he was really mad at Disney for having Pride Day. And he said, could you imagine if Disney had Murderer Day? Could you imagine if they did something like that? It's that absurd. But did you guys ever hear that? Because I heard many times people referring to like Gay Day as Murder Day. You ever heard that?
I never heard Day as Murder Day, but I did hear Pride Month and anything like that affiliated and associated with the most absurd things, like the most off the wall analogies I had ever heard, and being
it was always compared to something just
I also remember
Abomination.
Yeah, Abomination. What is that? I remember it being like, I don't want to say from the pulpit, won't go as far as that, but definitely in like teen settings, like whatever settings we were in, it being joked about in a way to like undermine it as a business, the government, the country celebrating Pride Month. It was always just like, if you even buy into that, if you're even like, whatever, it was, you were felt dumb if you thought that was something you wanted to support.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Carla. Well, I totally was rambling there. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. It's just along the same lines as what she was saying. They would just compare it to ridiculous things and either shame you or just kind of sort of make you feel dumb or silly if you had thoughts that went against it, or just something to kind of back up that community and being like, they're not evil. And then they would come back with something to make you feel dumb. And you're like, almost embarrassing you in front of your peers, in a sense.
Yeah. One thing I like to point out to people I interact with that are younger is it's kind of hard to convey the overwhelming amount of casual homophobia that existed back in those days.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I participated in it all the time. And I would have considered myself like rather progressive on the issue, but I had no problem saying, dude, that's so gay. Why are you doing that? And stuff like that. It was fun. It was just something that people just did. And I'm glad things have progressed over time, but if your baseline conversation is to refer to the queer community in a pejorative manner, just imagine how the rest of society went when you actually started, compare with these awful comparisons, which I'm pretty sure you're going to hear a lot more of them pretty soon. So let's get back to old triple sticks.
God will have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah if he allows a nation that wants to give special privileges, wants to recognize as normal a perverted lifestyle that the Bible declares to be sin. Because God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for accepting that kind of a society. God hasn't changed. And the problem is not that they don't have rights, they want special rights. They want the rights to pedophilia. They want the right to go into the schools and corrupt the minds and the morals of young ladies and young men.
All right, I have to pause it right there. Before the show started, I asked you all to pull up all of the legislations and bills that allowed queer people to be pedophiles. So if you guys can share those documents with me, go right ahead. We'll wait till you pull them up. Oh, they don't exist. How about that? That's weird. That's very strange because Bob Jones III just said there with zero hesitation. The line that they love to say is like, oh, man, these folks don't want rights. They want special rights, which is not true, at all. And then went on to say they want the right to pedophilia. Now, I want to go back to what he said in 2015. Upon reading those long forgotten words, they seemed to me as words belonging to a total stranger, were my name not attached. I cannot erase them, but I wish I could, because they do not represent the belief of my heart or the content of my preaching. So I don't know. Maybe he was a little bit off on that. I just wanted to point that out. Go ahead.
I was just laughing. Like, here's some content.
Yeah, seems pretty consistent to me. Let's see what else he has to say here.
But I feel like
want the right to push their agenda.
Sorry, Kai, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I feel like that's not the first time I've heard it. Like, when he said, like, they're asking for special rights, like, to pedophilia and stuff like that. I feel like that was something I heard from the pulpit growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that within the IFB is that members of the queer community, they like little kids and, like, pedophilia and, like, that was the whole thing. So I feel maybe I'm the only one who, had that experience. But I remember, like, thinking that there's no way that was right because, like, people are evil. Like, there's evil people in every, like, walk of life, right? So, like, that's not, but I feel like far too frequently they said things such as, oh, they want access to little kids, or, oh, they're, like, they have ulterior motives and stuff. So, like, they was always up there with murder, but also up there with bestiality was that they wanted to hurt children or marry children or whatever it was.
I was thinking that one of my friends, this was I think when we were probably freshmen in college, and we were back from school, and this is how I know that it was just the wrong information was drilled into our heads. One of our friends, I know for a fact he's gay, but it was just like hush hush, or kind of we just wondered a little bit. But we would hear rumors, and one of my friends said, I don't know if I want him around my nephew anymore. He's probably going to touch him, or he works with all these kids. He's probably going to, how is he going to be a teacher? I'm like, just because he's gay doesn't mean he's going to touch every child in front of him. Like, that's not what that means. That is a whole other context when talking about Sodom and Gomorrah that the church has yet again totally skewed. They haven't done enough research into the history behind what any of that means. Like, pedophilia has its own meaning within the Bible, and it has its own context, has a bunch of just history behind that the church refuses to.
There is actually a lot of direct scripture about pedophilia.
And they and say it's about homosexuality when it's not.
It's homosexuality, And
I mean, let's just not talk. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, babe. Yeah.
Oh no, I was going to say let's not talk about the KJV, like the IFB, KJV believing pastors that like have all been convicted of pedophilia.
Yeah.
Well,
and I'm glad you brought that up because I have one in particular I want to talk about today. And so we'll talk. That'll be a great reference point later. I'm glad that you guys said that because the one thing that he said that stuck out to me too was God, that I heard a lot was also God hasn't changed. And to my knowledge, God did very much change between the Old Testament and New Testament, and yet some of this stuff is they really pull from way back there, and so I don't know. That's a whole other soapbox as well.
Yeah, that's quite a long conversation there. I don't want to launch into this. Kayla. Yeah, I don't want to launch into this on this episode, but the whole does God change? It depends on what religion you're practicing. Now, you can make it that he did or that he didn't, depending on what you're.
Them specifically, like they will preach, that why we're able to do certain things, why they're able to,
eat shellfish.
Yeah, whatever. Thank you. That's the justification. So I did mean like the IFB specifically. They got a change card, whatever.
I have a few slides on this very topic after Bob Jones is done. So it's like you guys are too sharp for me. You're way ahead. But let's finish up with old triple sticks here. I'm sure we'll find something else ridiculous he says.
That's what they want. Kidnappers don't have that right. Kidnappers are put in jail for their crimes. Rapists don't have that right. Thieves and murderers don't have that right. But this kind of sin, there's a great pressure on to have some kind of a special appreciation for the sin of homosexuality that we don't have for other sins. I mean, there's a whole perversity of thinking in all that. When you really stop, contemplate it, why in the world should one brand of sin get preferential treatment? And why should all of society be asked to move over and accept a sinful, perverted, corruptive, and death-dealing lifestyle? It is that. Why should we be asked to accept that and run the risks of all that? Hey, if somebody wants to be a murderer or a homosexual or a thief or a kidnapper or a rapist, nobody can stop them from that. But don't ask law-abiding citizens to sanction that and to appreciate that and to approve that and to make special laws protecting that. There's the problem. We're in big trouble because of the sins of the nation.
All right, so I want to add a few things to this, so real quick, and I'll go around to everybody else to gather your thoughts. So one thing that whenever you talk to these folks, these independent fundamental Baptists, you guys ever hear them and you start to corner them on this, and you say, well, so do you have like this hatred for gay people? One thing that they'll like to say is, no, listen, all sin is sin. We are all sinners. They would say this shit all the time. Yeah. And first off, no, the fuck it's not. You know it. Like, you know that all sins are not equal. Like, don't lie to my face right here.
Probably just got to, or about to get a divorce or whatever.
Yeah. There's a reason you're comparing homosexuality, Bob Jones, to murder, rape, and kidnapping, and not paying a speeding ticket or something. Like, yeah, there's a reason that you're comparing it like that, because you see it as a larger crime than others. Like if you find out someone, violated an ordinance and built a shed onto their house when they weren't supposed to, you're not going to kick them out of your church. You find out someone is gay, you will kick them out of your church. So you don't believe all sin is equal. It always bugged me. I just didn't appreciate the cowardice. Like, if you actually believe this shit, stand up for what you believe in and say it with your whole chest. So we'll start with Carla. Like, what did you think about the esteemed words of Dr. Jones there?
They're just so dangerous, because I saw it firsthand where words like that can put a whole community in almost kind of making them choose between one sin or another. So my example was when I was at Bob Jones. That's where I actually found my first girlfriend. Oh. But we had to break up shortly after we became official because her dad found out. And instead of them making a big deal about it, and instead of them like snitching on me, because then his daughter would have gotten kicked out too, right? So instead, she contacted me with just, I don't know, a paragraph long thing saying, I can't speak to you anymore. When we go back to school after this break, we're not allowed to speak to each other. And I'm like, how will they know? And he's like, he has people there watching. Like, there will be people watching to make sure you and I don't speak to each other. And then immediately she got a boyfriend right after that, and like soon got engaged and they got married. But before that, they were like engaged in like physical activities and did basically all the things that she and I did that they just welcomed. So we're at a school that preaches against doing anything immoral, anything physical with each other. Then on top of that, homosexuality, her parents said, hard no. You will not speak to this person ever again, let alone look the same direction that they are. But you're going to be with this guy, and who cares? Yeah, sure, you're not supposed to do that, but go ahead, because at least you're not gay.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, first of all, heartbroken. Second, just like, you just took away the freedom from your own daughter. She felt so free and like safe with me, and now she doesn't have that anymore, and you're making her be surrounded by people who won't accept that part of her. And she has never looked back to this day. And that's the type of stuff that makes me so heartbroken, is that his words scare people into hiding who they are and basically leading a double life for the rest of their lives. When like people who knew them to the core know deep down, like, you're not happy. You just know how to lie. The church teaches you how to lie so well to yourself, which breaks my heart, honestly.
True. Kai, what would you think from what you heard there?
I think it's wild that he says things like that.
Yeah.
And then tried to come back and say, like, I'm smiling because it's so ridiculous, right? Like, and then he tried to come back and say his words were like, I didn't say that. That doesn't sound like me. Like, maybe okay, I can't read his mind. Maybe his heart changed. But, like, at least own it. At least be like, no, I did. Like, I was in the wrong. Like, I never should have said those things. And, like, I don't know. It just hurts my heart that, like, people say stuff like that and it hurts other people. And he's not right. And I don't think it's okay. But I think, like, they want to compare it to all these horrible sins, right? But, like, can you show me like, I mean, you guys know I'm still a Christian, right? But, like, show me in the Bible where it says that homosexuality or, like, being queer, right, is a worse sin than anything else, right? Like, if it is a sin, to show me where it says that it's up there with, like, murder and raping and kidnapping, right? You know what I mean? Like, you want to say all sin is equal, okay, but then it's conveniently not when it works with the narrative that you're pushing, right? Like, me having horrible thoughts about so-and-so is the same as someone being murdered. I mean, if you read the Bible for what it is, and all sin is equal, me having horrible thoughts about someone is just as bad as someone committing murder. So, like, I don't know. I think that's one thing that the church has gotten horribly wrong is, like, the way in which they treat people and what they say, because I don't know, it just really hurts my heart because Jesus loved everyone and the church doesn't do a good job of loving everyone. They love who they want to love.
Kayla,
so it's a little bit off the rails with BJ, but I mean, it pisses me off and it makes me sad that, you know,
it's really
anyways,
sad
I'm done
because,
now.
you know, faith is a beautiful thing. It is. So it is sad to see anytime that humans mess it up. You know, people should have something to believe in in all kinds of areas of their life. But great, it's really sad.